Hello guys, welcome to United's Glory. Manchester United have a chance to basically put a huge dent in the title hopes of Liverpool at Anfield. Injury ravaged Liverpool, but ultimately we come away with a point from Liverpool after a 0-0 draw. Now, obviously, in perspective, sometimes you can consider a point away from home against a title contender a really good result, but is this a good result, or did Ole bottle it? That is the question I asked you guys down in the comment section. Let me know, do you think we should have won this game? Or do you think a point is a good result? You can't say we didn't completely not go for it. We did have chances. We had chances to score. Both Bruno and Pogba should have buried both of their chances, to be brutally honest. Not one of them and not the other. Both of them should be scoring that chance. Both clear shots at goal. Both of them should be scoring. And, if they scored both those goals or one of those goals, we win this game. And, we're 6 points clear of Liverpool. But ultimately, it's 0-0. And now, the game kind of played out how I expected, to be brutally honest. Obviously, the first 15-20 minutes, we got battered. We looked like a championship side against Liverpool. They were winning all the 50-50s. We were extremely tenacious. We were sloppy with the ball, constantly giving the ball away. But we kind of grew into the game. After the 25-minute mark, they lost their tenaciousness. They lost their tenacity. And, we started to win more of those 50-50s. Now, this is something that a lot of teams try to do against Manchester United. They try and catch us out early in the first 20 minutes because our passing tempo often starts off pretty slow. I'm not going to say this is necessarily Liverpool did for just us because they tend to play like that all the time. But, what it reminds me of is a team that's going in gear 5 against a team that's going in gear 2. We were in gear 2 for that first 20-25 minutes, whereas Liverpool were in gear 5. But after a bit of time played out, obviously fatigue levels set in and you lose that tenaciousness. And, we held out pretty well. They didn't create any clear-cut opportunities. If you were judging it based on those first 25 minutes, it looked like a Champions League final team against a relegation fodder team because we were just not even in the game. We couldn't keep the ball. But, we did. We got through it. And you would always say that. It doesn't matter against any quality of Liverpool's team. When you get to these London Manchester United matches, the classic, as I like to call it, I think it should be called the classic. You get El Clasico, the classics in other leagues. This is the English Premier League's classic. In these games, Liverpool always start off fast. We've seen far worse Liverpool teams start off fast against better Manchester United teams in the past and dominate that first 20 minutes. Stifle them, give them a reason to start doubting themselves, then you bring yourself into the game because, they're giving it their all against us. And, that's what we did today. We started getting the game 25 minutes onwards. I would actually say it was a pretty even game. Take away the first 25 minutes. Imagine the first 25 minutes didn't exist. The rest of it's a pretty even game. In fact, in the second half, we created better chances than them. Being in control of possession of the ball, as much as I would like us to improve in that area, it isn't the only way to be in control of the game. Jose Mourinho did say it once. You don't have to have the ball to be in control of the game. I thought we were in control of the game for a lot of this game without the ball because Liverpool, they looked toothless. They looked absolutely toothless. Apart from that Firmino chance in the first half, I wouldn't say they had any clear-cut opportunities. Even that wasn't clear-cut. It was more of a half chance. But, in the second half, we definitely had the better chances. So, what do I think about this? Was it a good point earned or was it 3 points missed? I've got to say it's 3 points missed. I absolutely have to say that. Looking at their defence, Henderson in defence, we should have been exploiting that. And I think the problem was with the forward line selection. Now, I didn't have a problem with him playing Pogba on the right or even on the left. I thought that was going to happen. I thought we'd use the height of Pogba to bypass their midfield press. But what frustrated me was the fact that Rashford was up front. Rashford cannot play up front. He is not a striker. He isn't good enough to be a striker. But as a left winger or a left forward, as we tend to call him in the modern game, he is devastating. Don't get me wrong, still inconsistent over 90 minutes, but he is devastating with his pace. Martial's also a good left forward, but he's also a better centre forward than Rashford. And I would actually say Rashford's a better left forward than Martial. Them playing in their two regular positions, it works for us. Martial can hold the ball up. He can link play, whereas Rashford, basically likes the ball over the top. He likes to run onto the ball. Martial can dribble, he can carry the ball, but ultimately, he doesn't get from one side of the pitch as quickly as Rashford does to the other side of the pitch. When you're looking for that counter-attack, when you're looking to burst out the blocks, Rashford gets from one side of the pitch to the other side of the pitch quicker. So that's why I would have preferred to see Rashford there, with Martial holding the ball up, with him linking the play. And Martial was playing quite well today. I'm not holding anything against Martial because I thought he was one of our better players before he went off. I thought he was unlucky to come off, but obviously he was nursing an injury and he was a bit of a doubt for the game, so I do understand that. When Cavani came on, we started to create chances because he was holding the ball up, and that's something Rashford cannot do. If your only tactic is to go over the top, that's predictable. Even makeshift centre-halves can start figuring that out. But, when Cavani came on, when he started linking up the play, it allowed our other players to get further forward and we created chances. I think if the game had gone on another 10-15 minutes, we would have won. Unfortunately, I don't know how there was only 3 minutes injury time. That was a joke. But it was a game there for the taking. I personally thought it was a bottle job. Now, Ollie's come out and said in the press conference afterwards that, it wasn't a good performance, but he would have picked the same team again. I mean, I don't have that much of a problem with the team selection other than the fact that Martial should have played up front. It takes me back to that Champions League final against Barcelona where we put Cristiano Ronaldo up front, Wayne Rooney on the wing. We basically stifled their actual natural abilities for us to break on the counter-attack. We did that today for some reason. We played Martial on the left. Martial can counter-attack, don't get me wrong, he can counter-attack, but he isn't as quick as Rashford. He's a better dribbler than Rashford, but if you want somebody bursting into space, it's Marcus Rashford because the guy's lightning. Martial's quick with the ball at his feet, whereas Rashford's quick at kicking the ball ahead of him and running. I'm not saying he's just a runner-type player, he's better than that. He's got a trick in the bag, but, it just didn't make sense to me. And Rashford coming in on his right foot as well, he can unleash those power shots that are always difficult for keepers to get, whereas Martial likes to finesse the ball, and it always gives the keeper a chance if he gets it wrong. Anyway, so for me it was 3 points dropped. It's not a bad point. In the past, that's a great point. It's still a good point, but the 3 points were there for taking, so that's why I'm disappointed. They absolutely were there for taking. We always expected Liverpool to have control of the ball and have possession and, cause dangerous moments. But ultimately, they were toothless. Name one decent opportunity they had. They had 18 shots to our 7, but our chances were better than theirs. Anyway, I'm going to go on to player ratings now. So David De Gea really didn't have a lot to do. He had one shot from Thiago, I think, from long distance, and he managed that well. We parried it well. It wasn't a difficult save. If he didn't save it, you would have been angry, but his passing was good when the ball came back to him. A perfectly reasonable performance. He just wasn't tested. So you got to give him a 7 out of 10. Wan-Bissaka, very good performance. The whole defence was brilliant today, by the way, including Lindelof. I would have played Bailly as well, but Lindelof was very good today. I'll get to him in a moment. Wan-Bissaka one-on-one. When Mane got to him one-on-one and he tried to skin him, and Wan-Bissaka, Spider-Wan, literally just took the ball from his feet. It's soul-sucking for those attackers because they can't beat him. Wan-Bissaka still has a lot to improve on, but he handled whoever his opposition was at the time very well. That was both Salah and Mane because they switched at one point and those two players didn't get a look in. The only times they got in the game was where they basically moved further central to, try and expose the pace of Lindelof and Maguire, but, they got no change. So I'm going to give Bissaka a 7 out of 10. You could argue an 8, but, we weren't brilliant today. So I'm not going to give the ratings too high, and I just really feel like we missed an opportunity. Left back, Luke Shaw, my man of the match. I'm very critical of Luke Shaw. I generally think he's an average left back, but since Tellers has come in, his performance is upped. Ferguson used to say with Dennis Owen you get an 8 or a 9 out of 10 a game. And I always say with Luke Shaw you get a 7 out of 10 every game. Not a bad footballer by any means, but average. But since Tellers has come in, I think you get a 7.5 or an 8 out of Luke Shaw every game now. Once again, like Bissaka, still things to improve. Some really weird things he does as well, like a foul throw. I mean, come on. And he nearly gave the ball away quite badly in the second half as well. That could have cost us a goal. But overall, really good performance. He was driving with the ball as well. That's something a Manchester United left-back has to do. We've had the likes of Dennis Irwin, Patrice Evra, even at the other side of fullback, Gary Neville, Paul Parker. You could say Wes Brown. I mean, he did set up the goal in the Champions League final. But ultimately, that's something you have to do. And Luke Shaw has to do it more. He's starting to look more confident. And he is powerful. If only we could get him and Bissaka to cross like Liverpool's fullbacks. But today, great performance. Pocketed Mo Salah. Pocketed Mane when he went over there. An 8 out of 10 for Luke Shaw for me today, man of the match. Harry Maguire, pretty solid performance. I worried about him today because of the pace of Liverpool's attack. But, he produced a good performance, steady. He didn't get exposed in the way we thought it was. A terrible pass in the first half that could easily have gone wrong. But ultimately, he got away with it. So I'm going to give Maguire a 7 out of 10. I really need to see him do more in the opposing box. With the height of Liverpool's team in general, he should be getting on some of those corners and set pieces. Don't get me wrong, some of the set pieces we took were rubbish. But, you want to see him bullying their defenders. That's what Van Dijk does. That's what the great headers of the ball have done in the past. But even if he does get on it, it just feels like it hits his head and, just goes out into the stand. It reminds me of Laurent Blanc. Great header of the ball defensively, but offensive headers, it just can't seem to direct it. And I know he did actually score a good header only the other day for it to get ruled out. But, I expected him to be really bullying the Liverpool defence today and he didn't. Victor Lindelof. In the first half, he looked like he was going to get exposed for pace. And it's harsh saying Lindelof's going to get exposed for pace because he is actually faster than Harry Maguire. But both of them together, we had to play deep. And I'm not going to blame Lindelof for the way we set up today. But we have to set up that way when Lindelof and Maguire play together. We have to play deep and we have to have them protected by two defensive midfielders, McFred. But, his general performance today was very good. He made a brilliant interception late on that led to a counter-attack, which, if Rashford was not the inconsistent Ian that he is, he would have slid Cavani or Pogba through. But, a good performance by Lindelof today. Handled Firmino, limited Firmino to no real clear-cut chances. There was only that half chance, like I said. An 8 out of 10 for Lindelof for me today. He wasn't quite as good as Luke Shaw. Into midfield, Fred started slow. Some of his clearances were terrible. They were just falling to Liverpool players every single time. And it was starting to get a bit frustrating. I'm a big fan of Fred. And I was starting to get worried that in these big games, has he got what it takes? But he started to grow into the game. After Thiago controlled the game for the first 25 minutes, but as soon as their tenacity dropped, it's like Fred went up a gear, like the driving gears that I was talking about. It's like Fred went up to gear 4 and so did McTominay, and we started to win a lot more of the 50-50s. But Fred settled into the game quite well. I'm a really big fan of Fred. I think he's one of the first names on my team sheet, to be honest. But obviously, he can be a bit wayward with his passes. But, personally, I think it was a good performance by him. He dealt with what he had to do with well. Got skinned by Thiago a few times, actually. But, Thiago is just a great player. Thiago can skin anyone. But I'm going to give Fred a 7 out of 10. McTominay, I thought he really struggled in the first 25 minutes. He just looked like I don't know, one of those cones you get in the football trainings sessions and players just pass around it. That's just what it seemed like to me. He was just chasing shadows. But him, like Fred, grew into the game. As soon as Liverpool's tenacity dropped, Fred and McTominay started to get in the game. And, we were good money for nicking a win after that 25 minutes. Take away that first 25 minutes, I thought it was a pretty even game. They played their game. You expect them at home, them needing to win, to be putting on the pressure to score a goal. And you expect Manchester United, 'cause what we are now is a counter-attacking team. That's what we are. That's how you expected us to play today. I wouldn't say we parked the bus by any means. Mika Richards made it sound like we were parking the bus at half time. We weren't. We were looking to attack. Our passing just wasn't up to scratch. And I just thought the forward line was just odd. So I'm going to give McTominay a 6 because he did grow into the game. And he was very good aerially as well. I thought he won a lot of headers and started to intercept a lot of passes in the second half. But 6 out of 10, so not brilliant. Not as good as Fred personally. But moving on to Bruno Fernandes. It's starting to get a bit worrying how much his performances have dropped in the last few games. Now, obviously, opposition are going to set up to make sure Bruno Fernandes, as soon as he gets the ball, they're all very reactionary and proactionary to what Bruno Fernandes might do, and Bruno Fernandes likes to play the early pass quickly. But he was just poor today. His passing was poor. He's not... Even when he plays the ball over the top, he's playing it short, which is not something you would expect from him. He usually plays it over the top of the defence, but if the defender gets it, they get it. But, he's not even beating the defenders at the moment. I'm starting to worry he's looking a bit fatigued. Maybe he needs a few games break. Can we afford him to take a break? That's the question. But today he was rubbish. His free kick was good. I thought that was going in, but then he should have scored later on. Maybe Pogba's was an easier chance and Pogba should have buried it, but I also think Fernandes should score there as well. If you're going to just slide past it down the middle of the goal, you can expect the goalkeeper to save it. He should have put a bit of loft on it, personally, for me. I'm actually going to give Bruno Fernandes a 4. I'm not hating on Bruno Fernandes. He is almost influential and integral player, but I am just starting to worry that he is burning out quickly. We cannot afford him to burn out, and now we've got Liverpool out the way. I think it's time to give him a break. FA Cup, forget about it. We need him for the Premier League. If we can't progress in the FA Cup without him, then, I say fair, just let it go. Bruno needs a break, and I'll just give Donny van der Beek a few games to, see what he can do. I mean, I would have brought him on today, actually. We needed to keep the ball at a certain point, and, I thought he could have done something. On to Paul Pogba. I thought Pogba had a really good game on the right. Obviously, it's not his natural position, but he held onto the ball really well. He looked after the ball. I thought if we were going to create anything, it was going to come from Paul Pogba. Should have scored. I'm not going to lie, he should have scored. You need to be scoring that. But, in his all-round general play, I thought he did well. He's not the great against a quick press, a high press, Pogba, but I thought he handled that well today. He was quite quick on the ball. I would have moved him out onto the left at some point and put Rashford on the right. I thought Rashford could have exploited that right-hand side, whereas when Robertson pushes up, whereas Pogba doesn't quite have that burst of pace. Pogba's quick, but he doesn't have that burst of pace to really exploit that kind of opening. So I'm going to give Pogba a 7 today out of 10. I thought Pogba played well. Anthony Martial, who played on the left, I thought Martial was having a good game. Once again, like I said earlier, I wouldn't have played him there. I'd have played him up front so he could hold the ball and link up the play up front where we needed it to happen. Because every time I was passing up front, we were trying to play a through ball with literally every pass we made forward. I would have put Martial up front. And this is another point as well. Okay, maybe I'll give Rashford the edge over Martial in terms of burst of pace and beating a man. But Martial should have been quick enough to beat the likes of Henderson in a battle of pace today. I mean, he can beat a lot of players in a battle of pace. He'd probably beat Van Dijk in a battle of pace. What was different about today where we couldn't play him up front? Did his injury play into it? I don't know. But I thought he connected the play really well from the left. He actually held onto the ball for us. Any moment where we held onto the ball in the first half was generally him and Pogba. Bruno and Rashford were just giving it away endlessly. But yeah, I thought he played okay today. If the injury had something to do with him coming off early, then I get it. But if not, then he should have stayed on. So I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10. Marcus Rashford, rubbish. Just rubbish. He's such an irritating player because I could be slating him for 89 minutes of the game. Then he'll have 1 minute where he produces a moment of magic and he wins us the game. And that's why he has to play. So I do get that. Same with Bruno as well. Can play 89 minutes of absolute rubbish. And then, all of a sudden, he creates a spark of magic and scores. But like I said, he should have been played on the left today. He should have been against his friend Trent Alexander. Trent's probably not recovered from that skinning he got a few years ago. So, put him up against his worst nightmare again. Rashford. Have Anthony Martial hold the ball up and thread Rashford through when he's doing that burst forward. I just didn't get it. I just didn't get that change. It made no sense to me. Rashford did get through a few times. Obviously, a player with his pace is going to get through a few times. But, every time he did, he just does something stupid. Like when he got through and Cavani was making that diagonal run, it was an easy pass to Cavani. And all I wanted in that last 20 minutes was for Cavani to get a chance because I think Cavani would have scored. But, he kept dribbling. And I know strikers and attackers are greedy, but sometimes you just have to make the right choice for the team, and he didn't do it. He didn't do it. You could see Cavani throwing his arms up, and he was right to do so because he should have passed. Rashford's Nanny 2.0, brilliant in moments, but consistently annoying. So I'm actually going to give Rashford the same rating as Bruno today because I thought they were both poor. I'm going to give him a 4 as well. Maybe 4 is harsh. Maybe I could give them 5s. I've already made my decision now. It's a 4. Cavani came on. I thought Cavani was had a really good 30 minutes. He held the ball up well. We started to create chances. He drew a few fouls as well. We could tell their centre-backs were starting to struggle with a striker of Cavani's ability and his movement and his hold-up play. And I think Martial would have caused them similar problems as well. I know Cavani and Martial are a bit different, but unlike Rashford, Martial can hold the ball up, and of course Cavani can hold the ball up better than both of them, and he caused them problems today. All I wanted to do was see us get some crosses in the box for him to get on the end of them, but it was like we were trying to score the perfect goal at some points. Greenwood, also Cavani's rating 7 out of 10. Greenwood came on with like 2 minutes to go and had no chance to really do anything. I can't believe it got left for 2 minutes for him to come on, but it is what it is. So I'm not going to give him a rating. Solskjaer, he said Ferguson used to set up like this, really cautious against Liverpool, no matter which quality of Liverpool team he played, and he used to play on the break, and obviously sometimes it worked, sometimes we'd end up winning 4-0 or something like that, but I just feel like Liverpool were there for the taking, and he really should have gone for it. I mean, if he's saying it's down to the performance of the team and the passing weren't there, then sure, but I just didn't get that forward line change, and that's what irritated me the most. I get bringing McFred in. I would have played by so we could have pushed forward a bit more, so we could handle the likes of Mane's pace when we did push forward. But we didn't do it. I would have preferred Baye over Lindelof, but Lindelof had a good game individually. The thing is, I do want Baye to play, but Lindelof is a good centre back. Does it make a brilliant pairing with Maguire? That remains to be seen. I think Baye makes Maguire better, whereas I don't think Lindelof makes Maguire better. I think they are two very good centre-backs. But when Baye comes in, with the balance he has with Maguire, and the fact that he can cover the pace deficit from Maguire, I think it makes a very good centre-back pairing. And anyway, I personally would have played those players, but it's 0-0. A few weeks ago, you told me that we'd be going to Anfield, top of the league, and we got a 0-0 at Liverpool, 0-0. I wouldn't have been too disappointed. So I'm going to give Solskjaer a 6. The game was there for the taking. You could have brought Greenwood on a bit earlier, but it is what it is. Anyway, I think the main worry in a title race for us now is Man City and their form. They're playing Crystal Palace shortly. I do expect them to win that. I expect them to win their other game in hand as well, and I do expect them to go back top of the league. But who knows? Liverpool and Man City don't look as dominant as what they did. They're not carving chance after chance after chance out like they were a year or two ago. And they don't seem as consistent as what they did. So it is there. If we can go, as long as we win our next game and maybe put 3 wins together, we can start looking at the run-in a bit more and saying, can we do this? And go from there. But that's my thoughts on this game. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. I look forward to reading them. Do smash a like on the video if you do think we can win the league. And of course, make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you don't like the channel after a few days, of course, you can always unsubscribe, but there's nothing stopping you from doing that. So just subscribe and see what you like. It's just talking Manchester United here. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Talk to you soon.